Army experts in Sheffield, England were quick to make sure that the ghost of Hitler wouldn't kill more Britons as they defused a 1,000-kilogram bomb that was left from the Second World War. Soviet commandos have begun making lightning helicopter raids on villages in eastern Afghanistan. Resistance fighters and newly arrived refugees say the commandos are hunting down guerrilla commanders and killing or driving out civilians. Up to 150 civilians are reported to have been killed in the raids in the past 3 weeks. More deaths may come as the helicopters push ahead with night sweeps farther north in the Kunar Valley. A prominent Soviet doctor says his country's president has been working, and in his words, that means he's not dying. The doctor did not say, however, whether 73-year-old Konstantin Chernenko is healthy or ill. He cited strict adherence to the Hippocratic Oath, saying he could disclose nothing about any patient's medical conditions. Egypt's foreign minister has ended talks in Washington with Secretary of State George Shultz, urging the U.S. to take a more active role in Middle East diplomacy. The Reagan administration isn't so inclined. Officials say the next move is up to King Hussein of Jordan to find a way to the negotiating table with Israel. The Bolivian government has devalued its currency and raised the price of food, gas, and other commodities in an effort to prevent economic collapse. Bolivian workers will get a pay raise to help offset the price increases. Gas prices are going up by 575%, and food will cost an average of 400% more. Bread has virtually disappeared from supermarket shelves in the South American country, and beef and poultry are available only to the wealthy. Austerity is the key word in Ethiopia, which is plagued by drought and famine. The government has announced fuel rationing and a ban on some imports. Ethiopia's Marxist leader said on his nation's radio and television that all able Ethiopians will be organized to work in relief camps and a resettlement program. Closer to home, the jury in Kevin Coe's rape retrial called it a day yesterday without reaching a verdict. The jury has announced it'll not deliberate today, but will start its 6th day of deliberations Monday morning. If jurors can't agree unanimously on their verdicts, the judge would declare a mistrial. The Spokane County Prosecutor's Office then would have to decide whether to try Coe a 3rd time. Coe, a 38-year-old former real estate salesman, was charged in 4 of nearly 40 sexual attacks blamed on the South Hill rapist between 1978 and 1981 in Spokane. His original convictions were overturned last summer by the Washington Supreme Court, which cited numerous mistakes by the judge and prosecutor in the first trial. Child abuse charges against a 20-year-old Fort Lewis soldier were dropped after his 19-year-old wife confessed to hitting their 2-month-old daughter. That was at a hearing in Tacoma. And Pierce County Chief Criminal Deputy Prosecutor Chris Quinn Brindnall said Jonathan Bollinger tried to take responsibility for the beating last October. Miss Quinn Brindnall presented a quality plea statement from Bollinger's wife, Sandra. Her sentencing date was set for April 11th. 36 wild turkeys from Texas have been released in Washington. The State Game Department has promised to export a dozen otters in return. 20 of the Rio Grande turkeys were released in the Wenas Valley west of Yakima, and 16 were freed in the Kalakam area near Ellensburg. Some had transmitters attached, so biologists can keep track of them. The Game Department got the birds from the Texas Department of Parks and Wildlife. In return, it is picking up a river otter debt. Explains the department's Bob Byrne. They owed Missouri otters. Now we owe Missouri otters. We're going to send them about a dozen. Several hundred people gathered at Seattle's Federal Building to talk about what is polluting Puget Sound and what to do about it. Congressman Norm Dix told those at the Puget Sound Conference that it sets the framework for what it called the most important environmental challenge in the history of the state. Dix was joined at the conference by Governor Booth Gardner and Senator Dan Evans and more than 24 experts from federal, state, and local agencies that deal with Puget Sound. A federal researcher says that the pre-Christmas oil spill on the southern tip of Whidbey Island severely contaminated English sole in the area, but had little effect on butter clams. Donald Malin says his research team was able to determine the spill's effects because it had been collecting fish samples in the area before the spill for a Natural Cancer Institute study. A once convicted killer has again been sentenced by a separate jury to death for the shooting deaths of 2 Olympia area bank tellers. The Thurston County Superior Court yesterday ruled that 30-year-old Mitchell Roop deserved the death penalty he was handed during his original trial nearly on May 6, 1982.